when listed on the web. And then also we have a joint consistent message that
Does anyone have any questions about Commissioner Holmes?
Okay, scenario one. I get stopped by an officer for whatever reason, tail light out, whatever. When you take my driver's license, my insurance, and my registration, do you put it through Inlet, NCIC, or will it, and if you do, if there's a type container, will you hold me, and will you even go so far as doing?
So there's many pieces to that scenario right there, but
Well, if you stop me, will you do an Inlet and an NCIC immediately? Just that
so
minimum.
no, not every stop will immediately result in that inquiry which you're talking about. Now, when an officer stops a citizen for you're describing a vehicle code violation, the officer has many. If the citizen hands over a license, registration, and insurance, and the picture matches the person on the license, sometimes the officer won't even do a records check, and so that may not take place. They don't have to do one, is what I'm saying, but they may, depending on the situation. If there's more to the stop, let's say the citizen is now exhibiting nervous behavior, and maybe they're not matching the person on the license that claims to be that person. So then the officer would take additional steps and may ask the dispatcher to more or less run this person through the databases always, which you're referring to. Then through those records checks, that's when there could be a warrant for the person's arrest, could be an ICE detainer that you spoke about. So we don't do in the business of ICE detainers, okay? There would have to be something else in regards to what's going on in regards to, is there something else criminal there? Is this person broken the law? And if they have and they need to go to jail, then they have that ICE detainer on them. That's when the sheriff's department, when the person's booked in the jail, they have the ICE detainer on them. Sheriff's department would work with potentially the federal authorities in regards to what to do with that person. But Chula Vista PD does not call out federal immigration law enforcement officers to the scene just because the person has an ICE detainer on a traffic stop. I think that's the best way to answer your question.
Okay, so a non-felony type of item you would. If you go to a domestic and you find 10, 15 people there, will you run all the people there with that? Okay. Will you do an FIC, field interview card with all information of the individuals present?
Potentially.
Will you possibly go back and do a background check on all nature of the issue?
Not necessarily. I mean, you're describing a party call where 15 people are there. I mean, if they're not being compliant, the officers would try to take the person's information. But that not necessarily they go back and do this extensive search that you're. But what those field interviews are helpful for is that we just went to that party and 15 people were questioned, and we took that information down. And the week later, there's now a shooting at that party and somebody's dead. We can go back and look at those 15 people that were questioned and use those as leads for our detectives to follow up and question on.
You have a computer system that you go to this house and it's all fine and dandy and you didn't have to take anybody under arrest. But a week later, you go back to the house and it is a violent scene. I mean, I've walked into a murder scene and you have to. Will you then go back to these individuals that were at the party and do Inlet and NCIC?
There could be
part of the background.
there could be a scenario, yes. It did not. There has to be something more. So for a party call, no. More than likely, no. Especially the party calls our officers go to, they're grossly outnumbered usually. They're just trying to clear the call. They don't even have the time to try to take down all these people's information. They're just trying to get everybody out safely. So in that scenario, they wouldn't even have time to do all of that. They're just trying to preserve the peace at that point.
We have a speaker. Um,
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, we do have one public speaker, Robert.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for having the presentation and then letting the public speak. It's been a problem I've had with other boards, and I really appreciate being able to participate with enough knowledge. It was also good to hear some of your guys' opinions before, so I don't have to say it. But I just, the Chula Vista Police Department is like in an impossible position because you guys are asking him about something he does not do as a job. It's not their job to enforce immigration. They've said it 1,000,000 times. Thank you, Dan, for coming here. Thank you, Chula Vista Police Department, for showing transparency. I will be critical on one aspect. I expected to see some sort of numbers on sort of like federal, operations that we've been involved with over the past, whatever it may be, 6 months or something like that. Just so they have a baseline to understand what operations are being participated in and what operations are not being participated in. Like I said, the law. And like I said, I can be critical too, okay? I really wish we would have a focus on doing it the right way too, not just telling people to hide and all this and that. We should have a focus on how people should immigrate, not just when you get here, what happens, right? Like it should have been a full thing of immigration. Just when you're trying to, give people the best information, that's just what I would have thought. I also would include that to American citizens know our rights, since that's kind of the concept of it. I watched the border and them come across illegally, and kids be put at risk, them start fires. And there were people aiding and abetting them, encouraging more to do the same, not to do it the right way. And that's where you all sit up here and you should encourage the right way. We don't want to encourage the wrong way. Like, just like you don't want him to do the wrong way, we have to also do it the right way. But there's no one to hold you accountable but us. So thank you for my time.
I have a question. There was a story on KPBS recently that said that since President Donald Trump began his second term, nearly 5,000 people in San Diego and Imperial counties have been arrested by ICE. Do you have any sense of like how Chula Vista has been impacted by arrests?
I don't have it. So we don't really have communication with ICE in regards to their operations and their arrests. So I don't have any of that data for you. I mean, to further expand, so I don't really have any data to share with you because our department and I think this is a good thing, hasn't been called to a situation where we needed to preserve the peace in our community yet. It could happen tomorrow, but it hasn't happened yet, at least to my knowledge. That's probably something I would have heard about immediately. But it has happened in other areas of the county. But these operations are ongoing. They're ongoing throughout the region. So that data is not shared with the police department locally.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Commissioner Kina, you?
I want to go back to some of Board Member Holmes' comments. I just wanted to ask, there's a policy and procedure that states specifically when a person is run through NCIC and they hit on a warrant, like a standardized way that the Chula Vista Police Department responds.
That's correct. Like once, there's several steps that need to be happen once a person's ran through a database and it comes back as, it's called a hit. So the hit could come back with a warrant. The warrant could be more or less, we usually always see a state or local related warrant in the system for the person. They'll then have a criminal code usually associated with what the person supposedly had done, and there's now a warrant for them. Now, every once in a while, there'll be federal warrants, and then even ICE detainers, which one of the commissioners just brought up to our attention. So there has been training and put out to our staff in regards to when they encounter those type of detainers, but those are not something, those are considered civil detainers, and that's not something, again, that under California law, that we really even have time to even try to sort through. We're trying to protect our community. We're trying to, respond to calls in our community, and we're trying to also prevent crime. And so when we would come across this civil situation, our officers, we do have policy on it. It's considered an immigration aspect. So that would not be something that somebody would be arrested for.
And just to confirm, this policy and procedure supersedes the current administration, correct? This was years back that this was put in place for Chula Vista.
So we've had policy and procedures on this, I believe, since 2017. Does that sound right? It's been for a while, and so I think that's how long SB 54 has been. The California Values Act, I believe, came around, and I don't want to give you the wrong date, but it was before COVID, and it may have been during the that sounds about right, 2017. So we have had clear policy and procedures on these issues since 2017-ish on what is within our scope and within our power under California law to do in regards to what's criminal and what's not. And if it's not, then that's a federal immigration issue.
Thank you.
I have a question. The question is, in your Know Your Rights web page, you mentioned that you have a QR code. I would like to know in how many languages is that code?
Adriana, can you help with that one?
Sure. Our city website, you are able to translate into at least 6 languages. So it'll translate the entire page for you. Mhm.
Anybody else? Commissioner Diaz?
So kind of a follow-up to the language question. Is that automated Google Translate feature that a lot of websites are using?
Correct.
Or so the city doesn't have an actual linguist translating the web pages?
That's correct.
Anybody else? Any questions? No? I just had one more, I think. If I remember correctly, seeing some news out of Minnesota, there was an issue about to what extent ICE can, I guess, break into a house, or do they need a warrant for arrest? Could you comment on at least your understanding of how that's supposed to work? If ICE knocks on your door, like, and they want, like, what are people right in that situation in terms of whether or not they can come in, or can they come in by force?
Well, I'll try to answer your question. Hopefully this will help. So what we want to do as a police department, and if I'll give a scenario, let's say ICE comes to City Hall tomorrow, is wanting to go through the office buildings and do searches, we would ask immediately to be called to that scene as the local police. Not that we have any authority over federal law enforcement, but we would go to the scene, try to figure out what's going on, keep the peace, but also see what authority do you have? Because yes, if you are not in a public place, if you are in a home, or you're in a place that's not accessible, like in a workplace, it's not accessible to the public, it's blocked off, you need a warrant, regardless if you're a local law enforcement officer or you're a federal law enforcement officer. So it could be confusing for our community, and so I would recommend any community members call the police department. That's what we're here for, 911. We may not be able to stop anything what's going on, but we'll at least be able to give those resources to those community members and at least explain the law to them and go, hey, they do have a warrant. But if they don't have a warrant, then there's obviously a complaint process to go through, unless there was some type of exigency where they said they were chasing somebody. There are exceptions when you can do things without a warrant, but they're very strict by the Supreme Court. But what I want to say is, as a police department, for our local community members, we want to be a resource. So if there's ever a chaotic scene and the family's like, we don't know who these are, they're saying they're federal cops, but we're not sure, call 911. We will go to the scene and at least try to be a voice of reason and a voice of peace.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is what he mentioned right now is very important, because in LA, what has been happening is people in this guise of federal agents, they are acting against people. Thank you for sharing that last part. Thank you.
Mr. Diaz?
A follow-up to her question. Within the city of Chula Vista, are you aware, have there been any reports of any individuals impersonating ICE or any other federal agents?
Not to my knowledge. I'd have to go do is that something I can circle back with at a later time? I could do that with the commission, but I'm not aware any off the top of my head. I can tell you though, it is, these are trying times for just us as a police department. I can tell you that our officers out working criminal cases, trying to take down drug dealers or bad people, will get mistaken for ICE. And we've had crowds come up on our officers, and we've had to tell people, we're the police. We just arrested a guy with a ton of methamphetamines and guns. And so the problem is it's such a highly charged subject, people just assume that we're ICE.
And thank you for being out there. I know these are indeed trying times for everybody.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Anything else? Thank you very much. This is really important information, and thank you for coming and sharing this information with us.
Thank you to the commission. Thanks.
Okay, let's see, the next item is item 6.1.
It's an honor just to be nominated. But no, thank you. I've really enjoyed my time on this commission. I enjoy that we represent, and I have really enjoyed that. And so I guess as
I have my involvement with the city, go.
Commissioner Key, I use motion to nominate Commissioner Hecklinski.
Second.
Let's see, the next item.
Would like to be part of the subcommittee for April and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Jewish April and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Jewish American History Months. What we've grouping the events together by you'll be able to have some time. Looking forward to continuing the good work that we did with these. Looking forward to continuing the good work that we did with these months last year.
So there'd be one Hecklinski. Then I help organize the April and May events with organize the April and May events.
Mhm.
So, so we can have up to 4 people. That's 4. So we can have up to 4 people. That's 4. Commissioner Holmes, were you volunteering? Commissioner Holmes, were you volunteering? Okay, so that's 5.
Okay,
That subcommittee awards at the beginning of January. So it was awards at the beginning of January. So it was a long road, but it was our first time. You haven't seen it